Yeah, so on this tutorial, I'll be looking at some advanced usage of Riverpod. So in this case, we'll be doing some API calls, and I'll be showing you guys a number of tools that I normally use in my day-to-day life, which basically improve my productivity as a developer, as a Flutter developer. So in today's tutorial, let me just open this up first. So in today's tutorial, we'll be creating this application, which fetches all these cat breeds, and it displays the cat details to a different page. So it basically have two pages: this first page and the second page. So we'll be using Riverpod for state management, and we'll be using DIO for fetching the data, and freeze for generating the models, etc. So let's get started. First of all, I have this API which I'll be using, which is the cat API.com, which fetches all breeds, and it will be able to give us this data. So it's a list of cat breeds in JSON format, and in our case, we'll be creating that. Yeah, so let's get started. Let's open this in our code editor of choice, which is Visual Studio Code. For me, you can use Flutter Studio. That's up to you. For me, I'll be using Visual Studio Code. Quite a number of dependencies here. I'll also share this project on GitHub, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, my Copilot technical preview is expired, so I'll have to pay for that because it's really nice. Okay, so quite a number of dependencies here. DIO for network requests, freeze annotation for model class generation, JSON serializable for serializing the JSON with freezed. So that's required by freezed. Build runner for code generation, lints, and freezed for the unions. Okay, let's get started. So first of all, we'll have to create a model class for this, and in my Visual Studio Code, just part of my productivity stuff, in an extension, I have this extension called freezed. The freezed extension. So I have this extension installed. This extension helps me really generate freeze classes easily. So we'll go on to use that. Let's create a folder here called model. What else? Inside models, so that extension gives me this option when I right click on folder. Anyway, I can generate a new freeze class. Let me call it cat breed. Add to JSON, and from JSON methods, yes, we'll be needing that because we'll be serializing the JSON. So let me say yes, and boom, the class is generated. Cat breed.dat, here it is. So let's generate the code. Let me look for let me run this command so that I can be able to generate the code. So running build runner build will generate the code for the remaining code for the models. So boom, the code is generated successfully. So we'll go on and onto our app. So we're turning our the cat app. So let's just wrap this application with a provider scope. So this provider scope allows the app to access all provider instances within the app from anywhere. So from anywhere, whenever it's needed. So it will just give access to that. Always follow the lint rules to make sure that your code is more organized. So where next? We'll first create this page. Let's just turn a scaffold. the up bar, which is an up bar. Title, text, cat breeds. Always follow the intros, guys. I'll never cease to insist on this. Okay, so let's come back to we've generated the cat breed models. Let's generate the cat service, the breed service. So I'll be using this class just to call the endpoints. Inside this class, let's create a feature method which returns a list of cat breeds. Called get breeds. So we'll first create an instance of DIO. Let's get the request. Let's do a get request for that URL. For path, lint rules, guys, lint rules. Let's copy that API URL. Then inside our response, the response is already a list, so list so let's return let's just convert all this this list, the entire of this list that you just gotten from the backend, from the server, which is in JSON format, to a list of cat breeds. So response data dot map. So list map allows us to generate that. Like that. So that's basically how you perform the get request, and yeah, manage to get that. But we can do it. We can try and catch. We can do a try catch. On the error. Let's catch these two exceptions. Let's just throw. Let's throw e dot. Message. Okay. So we've handled the error. Basically, we've done the get request. Let's go back to our model and add the required fields. So in this app, we'll be needing the name, which is a string. So let's just go back to our string name. watching. So guys, you can just make sure that the name matches the JSON key on the JSON, just to make your work a lot more easier. You can use a JSON key or something, but I prefer to use this because it's easier. And also map. Image, because as you can see here, we have an image class, an image object, which is a map, which is a JSON, so that interprets JSON as maps. So there it is. Let's generate the code. Perfect. The code generated. Now we don't have any error. So we have the bridge service. Now let's create the bridge provider. So in this bridge provider class, let's create a bridge provider which extends as set notifier. So nice. So get bridge, let's call it get bridge provider. And also let's create a new freeze class. So we'll be creating a freeze class for the state. Let's copy that. Let's create this freeze class here. No, let's not create any. So we have the initial state. Let's call it so we have to think of all the possible states that might come. So in this case, we'll have the initial state, which is the idle state, the loading state, then the successful state, where which will obviously contain a list of cat breeds. Let's set this issue. And success, the failed state, where we'll have something like a string of the error. Failed. Okay, that's it. Yeah, so that's all the possible states that you might encounter. If you have any other state that you think you need to cover in that in those states, I think just put it down in the comments. So we have the get bridge state. So in this bridge provider, it extends a state notifier which holds the bridge state type. Get bridge state. So let's create a super state. The default state should be get bridge what did you call it? initial state. Okay, what's up? No, let's create a support for that. Okay, that will be the first, the initial state. Once the get breeds provider is instantiated, or yeah. So get breeds. Let's create that method. An asynchronous method. Let's try. First of all, let's change the state to get breeds loading. So let's make sure that the app is notified that the app is now trying to get the breed, so it should display a login state or something. So breeds equals await breeds service dot get breeds. Yeah, state equals get breed success, like that. Catch state equals get breeds that failed in dot string. So let's just convert the error to a string, and yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. What we need to do from the logical part, from the logic part. Now we can go on to create our designs. So in our main dot, have this file. So we didn't really create a global variable for that, for the breeds provider. So let's do that. Final get equals set25 provider with returns get breed provider. So here you can define the types of okay, that's looks good. That looks good. So let me abstract this. Let me abstract these files. It's better if you abstract your files earlier on in your app, so that if it scales, it will be easier for you to navigate through the files and just see what's going on, so it's more readable. So let me say, okay, breeds. So this just my simple way I just used to be using to arrange, to abstract these things. So in this case, and I thought this issue was fixed. Moving files should automatically update the inputs, but it's all good. Oh yeah. So let's get a new folder, views. So let's create a home page. So let's create a homepage which extends a consumer widget. So we should use our consumer widget so that you can be able to access the Riverpods, the providers. Basically, our consumer widget will give us the widget reference, which will allow us to access the provider widget ref. Okay, let's return a scaffold like that. Okay, so in our cut up, let's return a material up or a Cupertino app, whichever. Let me use our material app today. Home should be our home page. Constant. Lint rules, guys. Lint rules. I'll never stop insisting on that. Homepage. For the homepage, let's just define an app bar. Let's give it a title. The title should be text breeds. Let's avoid all lint issues as much as possible. The body. Yeah, but this is where the interesting things come to play. So yeah, get breeds equals let's define that like that. So we'll be using this get breed state to display our user interface accordingly. So for the body, we'll be using, so the good thing about this get breed state, it gives us this method using freeze to generate these states. It gives us the maybe when methods, which you can use to display our UI, or which can be used conditionally. So in this case, we'll be using it conditionally to display different UI elements. But maybe when. So in this case, or else we'll just return an empty container. So this is the default. For the loading, we'll return center, whose child is a circular progress indicator. Lint rules, guys. Let's always observe lint rules. So what about on success method? So this success method will have the breeds. So in this case, for the success method, we'll just let me use the block. I mean, what are they called? The curly braces instead of the lambda. Let's return a list view. Let's return a list view. Let it be separated. So that in builder it will be or let me see. Yeah. So we'll return list style, whose title is the name of the breed. Name. So what's happening here? What's this document string can be assigned? Oh yeah, sorry about that. Should be wrapped inside the text like that. Separator builder, will be using a divider. And for the item count, it will be the number of the breed items. Lint rules. Make sure your code looks as clean as possible. So we've generated that. So let's run the app. So as the app will be running, I think first we'll see an empty page. It's because we haven't called the method, but let's just give the app time to run, and then we'll see from there. Okay, so here's the app. I think right now we're seeing an empty container because we didn't call that method. So let's just go back to our homepage file and call the get method. Get bridge provider. Let's add that modifier and then call the get bridge method. So once I save it like that, exception set or mark state build was called during build. So let's just restart the app. So this error, let's just go back to our get bridge, and then convert this page. Let's convert this page to our stateful widget so that we'll be able to access the reference from anywhere. So let's use let me convert this to a stateful widget. Okay, what's not happening here? Let's remove this, then let's convert this to a stateful widget. So let's convert it to a stateful consumer widget. Consumer stateful widget or stateful consumer widget. What's the exact name? So we'll change all these we'll change all this to anywhere we have state, we'll change it to consumer state. Okay, so there we are. In our init state, let's call that method the get bridge method. So yeah, Let's restart the application. There it is. So we can now be able to fetch all these details by calling the getBreeds method just as the page is loading. So you'll see that it will first display the loading state, the loading indicator, and then we'll be able to display this cat. So it's basically displaying the list as displayed here in maybe not the same UI because it's a native iOS application, but it's basically displaying the same data. So on tapping this, we should move to this page and be able to view the details. So let's implement that. On tapping that list style, let's add an on tap modifier. Navigator dot push material page root context breed page. So let's create the breed detail page here. The breed detail page, which obviously require will have a required final parameter, which is cat of type cat breed. Let's put it here. So let's return a scaffold. Then in the scaffold, you'll have a body, which column should be a column whose children, maybe an image. So it will be the cat breed. Give the required parameter dot image URL. Then for the description, for the title of the app bar, should be text of type. I know this is a long tutorial, guys, but I'll be linking up the resources to this project, the entire GitHub repository, so that you guys can follow through. So it will be like that, and then let's create another text for the description. So you'll see that you have an error here, so you'll have to include the cat breed as breeds index. Like that. So once you tap on this, we'll navigate to the next page and be able to see our cat, the cat image. So this is pretty much the same similar app that I just created in the native iOS. So as you can see, we have the list of cat breeds. You can click and be able to view the details for that. And then if I go to the Flutter app we just created, we just reproduce the same thing. I have the list of cats here, and they'll be able to be displayed right here. So that's how basically I do my GET requests and basically most network requests, and I hope that you guys can be able to implement the same, maybe, or you can even share any better tip. I'll put links to my contacts anywhere below. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.